So I wrote the script in 24 hours and I shot the film in 7 days. And it's called Curse of Tartu. And when I sat down, I said, what the hell can I write about?
I'm sitting here with film director William Grefe. You have done a number of films. You did work with the Howards, right, on Flipper?
Well, yeah, on the, I was head of the Ivan Tor Studios in North Miami. Did Flipper and Gentle Ben, but the only big film I ever did was Live and Let Die, the James Bond film. I was the action director on that.
Oh, wow.
And we did the shark sequences and all of that. And
that was Roger Moore, right?
correct.
Okay.
Roger Moore, yeah. We shot in Jamaica and in Bimini. We did a lot of shark stuff and alligator and crocodile stuff on that. So I more or less coordinated a lot of that.
What's a Bond set like? What is that like?
Well, all I can say is the little stuff I did, I could have made 5 feature films because they throw money at you, which I wasn't used to because all my independent films, was always privately financed, and so you had to really hold on to every dollar to get it onto the screen.
We had talked briefly earlier, and you had just had. Off the cuff, you had all these these amazing stories about one film you shot in 7 days.
Yeah, that was I had directed a film called Sting of Death, which was the jellyfish monster. And so the distributor in those days, everything was double features to go into the drive-in, the local theater. And so he couldn't find another horror movie, so he said the magic word, I'll finance this, but I got to have it by May 15th. Well, back then, the filming, the damn cameras weighed 200 pounds, and the editing was a nightmare. It took you forever. It's not like today with digital, and computers and all of that. So I wrote the script in 24 hours, and I shot the film in 7 days. And it's called Curse of Tartu. And when I sat down, I said, what the hell can I write about, So I just took the age-old thing where the Pharaoh in Egypt, anyone disturbs the pyramid, he'll come back as a wild creature and destroy him. So I just moved that into the Everglades and had a ancient Indian witch doctor that comes back as a wild animal and kills people, So anyway, the film is insane. The thing's still in distribution all over the world.
And you were saying in post, you're basically using what, the Steam Deck to?
No. Every movie I made except one was 35 millimeter. And the big problem on independent is, I could only do 1 or 2 takes because the film was so expensive to develop it and all. And where today it's a no-brainer with these lightweight cameras weighed 3-5 pounds, and you can do as many takes as you want, But it's so we had to rehearse and hope the actors remembered their lines and all of that, because you couldn't do tons of takes.
And then in post, you were saying that because I've edited features before, but I've done it, non-linear on a computer.
Oh yeah.
And that is 100 times easier than actually cutting.
Oh yeah, no. Quick, an example being like when I did Impulse. Well, it was William Shatner. Well, let's say I was editing on the Moviola, which was, what's called a work print, and you didn't ever touch the real negative till you're ready to cut it. And so anyway, let's say one actor wasn't performing, I knew I could cut away to Shatner. So I'd say to the, assistant editor, I'd say, this is scene 33, look up Shatner, close-up. So he'd get in the catalog and he'd look at scene 33. Okay, that's in can 22, and go get a big can out and we'd thumb through the whole thing and we'd put it in the moviolas. So all of this process would take maybe 15, 20 minutes to put in. Now you just beep. It took scene 33, boom, bam, it's right there, So when I talk to a lot of college film students, I tell them, I say, to make a film today is a no-brainer from a technical standpoint.
It really is.
But I said the only thing hasn't changed is these damn actors and temperamental crews, You got to be an amateur psychiatrist to figure them out.
Yeah. The last thing I did was a feature-length documentary, and part of it I was tired, really exhausted by working with actors.
Oh, yeah.
I just, I
Well,
was like, I can make a movie without actors.
well, do you know who Bob Mikulski is? He won the Academy Award as the editor of Hurt Locker.
Oh, wow. Okay,
And when I was out at Quentin Tarantino invited me out to the New Beverly, and this guy comes up and asked for me to sign a Stanley poster. So I signed it for him, and I'm out in the lobby, and I didn't know who he was. And so anyway, my friend said, "Hey, gee, you know who that guy is?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, he just won the Academy Award as the editor of Hurt Locker." So anyway, he's a grindhouse fanatic. And so Bob called me up about 3-4 months ago, and he said, "Bill, got this small distribution company, and I'm releasing a movie called I Eat Your Skin." And he said, I looked early in your career, you were second unit director on, and he said, "You're the only guy in the crew left that I can find that's still alive." I said, "Bob, thanks a lot. You really make a guy's day." So anyway, Bob asked me, he said, "Can you do a 20-minute thing about how you made the film?" So I had never seen the movie because there was the director-producer was a guy named Del Tenney out of New York, and he came to Florida to film this, and he hired me to help him with crews and all, and then he said, "Can you be second unit director?" So he went back to New York, and I never even saw the movie, and I said, "I'd love to, Bob, but I haven't seen the movie." So he sent me a DVD, and he said, "I'm going to put this out on Blu-ray." So anyway, he said, "You're so noted for being in the Everglades and shooting in the swamp." He said, "Will you do that?" So anyway, I just got out in some woods, and I came out of the thing, and 1 minute, and I said, slapping mosquitoes, and I said, with a machete, and I said, "All you damn Hollywood people, all you think is I work in the Everglades." So anyway, I went in the house, and I did a 20-minute spiel on how we made the movie. So that's out on Blu-ray now, and it's one of the extras.
That's not this. That's different.
No.
That
That's just a strict. It's I Eat Your Skin. And some other movie he did. It's a Blu-ray release.
Oh, nice. Double feature, and then the extras. There's
the extras. So I did a 20-minute spiel for him. But this is They Came from the Swamp, which is a 2-hour documentary on my film career, which
involves William Shatner and interesting
and
people.
Herschel Gordon Lewis. Blood Feast. Herschel was nice enough to be interviewed. Frank Hellenlotter, Brain. What did Frank do? Anyway, Frank's directed a lot of films. Fred Olin Ray, who I've known since he was a kid, and so there's a lot of good old pros that were kind enough to say nice things about me.
Yep, to see Doug Hobart, H.G. Lewis, Bill Marcus, Joe Morrison. I can't wait to watch this. I was so you worked with Shatner on 3 different pictures?
Yeah, I did Impulse, which was where he plays a psycho killer, and then I did 20 half-hour films for Bacardi Rum, In person, Shatner is a very funny guy, And so when I was shooting the Bacardi film, I called him up and I said, I don't have the money. I'd pay you on a feature, but I'm got to shoot this in Puerto Rico. Would you come down? And he said, well, I got a girlfriend. Well, I said, bring her. So he said to me, he said, well, how much you got in for wardrobe? Well, all he had to wear was a shirt. And I said, well, I guess about $100. And there was a pause. He says, well, maybe I could go to Kmart and find something. but anyway, so he, on this, they came from the swamp. There was an interesting thing in the where on the film Impulse, I used Harold Oddjob Cicada, the big Oriental from Goldfinger that threw the hat.
Yes.
And so Shatner accidentally, the whole rig slipped, and Cicada was literally hanging, choking to death. And so, anyway, Shatner sees it and he tries to pick Cicada up. Well, Cicada is like 250, 60, And so we all ran in, and he cut the rope. And so anyway, when Tarantino had me out to the New Beverly, I called Shatner up and I said, about this behind-the-scene footage I just had found. And he said, I got to see this. So I went by, and he looked at it and said, he said, it's great, but there's no damn sound, And I said, well, there was an amateur guy just filming behind the scene. He said, well, I'd narrate this, So anyway, he ended up narrating it, and that's one of the extras on They Came from the Swamp.
I can't wait to watch it. So, your career, the time era, a lot of the independent films you did, seems to run parallel a bit to Roger Corman. I mean, Roger Corman's kind of been going forever, and he's still going, But I noticed that, when I think of, I think of Corman films like Bucket of Blood, or really, fun, lo-fi stuff, so were you? I know that you obviously you had met with him quite a bit, but did you ever feel like you were rivals in a way? Because
no. See, I mean, Roger did the majority of his stuff in California. I mean, I was a regional filmmaker, and so I always welcomed, like Herschel Gordon Lewis came down from Chicago. They were going to do Blood Feast. Herschel and Dave Friedman, his producer, called me up and said, Bill, can you help us get a cruise and stuff? And so I always helped filmmakers because I figured the more I helped people coming in, then the equipment houses would stay, the lab would stay, et cetera, So, back in those days, I mean, I'll give you an example. See, nobody was competition like Corman, because everybody was competition. Like when I did Stanley, which is my where I used all real rattlesnakes, we opened in Los Angeles the weekend the original Godfather.
Yeah, wow.
Stanley cost $125,000 to make. I grossed $179,000. The Godfather grossed $181,000.
Oh my God!
See, and so as I said, the best thing I ever learned was when Sam Arkoff, who was head of American International, said, "Bill, I've never heard of anybody walking up to the box office and before they plunk down their money, they say, how much did this film cost to make?" They go for some reason,
Yep.
And so I never felt. Roger, or any of them were competition because I was in competition with John Ford and all the biggies, because when you're playing in the theater, it was what brought them there,
So, but, you were head of...
Ivan Tors, yeah. I was the biggest on the East Coast of the United States.
Because, I mean, if it's doing shows like Flipper with what was it, Ron Howard and his dad, right? I mean, that's got to be pretty gigantic.
Well, one thing about Flipper, you could go anywhere in the world. You can be in the middle of Africa, And you mentioned Flipper. Everybody in the world knows Flipper.
Exactly what it is.
You know, and so, we shot that 100% in Florida. And, anyway, Ivan Tors more or less brought in the Hollywood system into Florida, where I was always independent, And
So where did that come about in your career, like being part of that, and then versus?
well, what was funny is when they asked me to head up Ivan Tors, well, I'd never had a job, where I had to go 9 to 5, and so it was quite an honor to be asked to be head of the studio. And I came home, and my wife was so excited. And she said, I looked at her. She said, "What's the matter? You look so down." I said, "Damn it! I got to go to work 9 to 5."
Show up to an office. Did you have to put the suit on? And all that, or?
Right.
Yeah.
So, any event, I had in my contract that I could make one independent film a year, and so when I dreamt up Stanley, which was I used all real rattlesnakes because there's no CGI then or anything. So anyway, I offered it to Ivan as the independent that I was going to make that year when I was running the studio. He said, "Bill, we're a family oriented. I can't make a horror movie and all of that." So anyway, I went out to California, and Red Jacobs was head of Crown International Pictures, who had handled one of my films, The Wild Rebels. So I don't know what the hell I ate that night, but I dreamt Stanley. And, I woke up and I said, "Man, that's not bad," because Willard had come out, and
Right.
and I saw that the next trend was animal horror movies, because Willard was really the first. So I dreamt this whole thing, Stanley. And so I said, "Well, that's not half bad." So I went to see Red Jacobs over at Crown. And Red was a crusty old distributor with a cigar out,
The old school distributor.
Yeah, the old
with the cigar.
school, So anyway, I said, "Hey, Red, I got a great idea for a movie." He said, "Well, leave me the screenplay and I'll read it over the weekend." I said, "I don't have a screenplay." "Well, okay, give me the synopsis." I said, "I don't have a synopsis." So he says, "Grefe, you son of a bitch, get the hell out of my office. What are you wasting my time for?" Well, he had a big box of Cuban cigars, and I reached in, "You get your hands away from those," and he's screaming at me, and I said, "Red, calm down. Let me tell you the story." So I told him the whole story, because it was like I dreamt the whole damn thing. And so, anyway, he brought in Mark Tenser, who was his vice president and his head of distribution. That guy came in, and so I told him the whole story. And Red said, "How much will you make this for?" And I said, $125,000. He said, "I'm only going to put one monkey on your back." He said, "I got to have it April 15th, which was the magic thing. And this was the end, because the drive-ins all opened April 15th.
So it was
This was in latter part of November.
and they did it for April.
So I thought, what the hell, I got to get this in the can.
And you got to edit, right? That was the big
See, and when you shook hands with Red Jacobs, that was as good as any contract today. I mean, it was the old school. When you shook hands with a guy, that was it, So anyway, I knew this insane writer, Gary Crutcher. I mean, the guy's nuts, I mean, he was always drugged out. So I said I wasn't going to turn down the deal with Red. So I said, "No problem, Red. Yeah, okay." So I called up Gary in L.A. and I said, "Gary, I got to take the Red Eye back to Miami." And I said, "Meet me at the L.A. airport." So he met me at the L.A. airport. And he was a real pill popper, And I said, this was a Friday night. And I said, "Gary, I got to have a screenplay Tuesday morning," which there were no faxes, there were no emails, none of that stuff, which meant Monday night, he had to put it on an overnight plane to get it to me. So Gary just popped the pill, stayed up for 3 days, and wrote the whole damn thing, and we started shooting,
What was it, maybe like a 70-page script? Or how?
No, it was about a 90-pager. With a lot of, but, what was so funny is Red Jacobs didn't believe all the stuff I was going to do with real rattlesnakes, So he sent an executive producer down to keep his eye on me. So I met him at the airport. And I had a wild animal trainer, a guy named Frank Weed that lived in the Everglades. And so I knew Frank could handle these rattlesnakes. And so this exec producer said, Bill, we're at the airport. I'm going to take him to the hotel. He said, Bill, listen, can I meet this Frank Weed, So I said, yeah, no problem. So we drove out. And so I went to his house, and Frank wasn't there, but his 18-year-old son was there. And so we walk in his little cabin, and right in the middle of the thing, he has this, 20 rattlesnakes in like a cage in the living room. Well, it was in December, and it was pretty cold for Florida. And so this Johnny was the guy's name. He said, "What do you get these rattlesnakes in the living room for?" And he said, "Well, Bill's got to use them, and we didn't want them to get cold." So he said, "Do you ever handle these like your father?" And the kid reaches in, boom, grabs like a 6-foot rattler. And the California guy said, "My God, don't you ever get stung?" And the kid said, "Yeah," and he holds up, and one finger's missing. And he said, "Well, what do you do?" And he said, "Well, we were out getting water moccasins, and one hit me on the end of the finger." He said, "Well, what do? You rush to the hospital or what?" He said, "No, we were getting like $10 for snakeskin belts." He said, and that day, my arm turned black up to my shoulder, and my finger turned completely black, and I had to cut it off. And the guy, Johnny, said, "You cut it off? What do you mean?" The kid reaches over, and he's got a jar full of alcohol with his finger floating in. And Johnny said, "Grefe, we can leave now." So he never questioned me again what we're going to do.
You had talked about Psychedelic Priest and how it had no script, and I just thought it was such a fascinating story. Sometimes I fantasize about being able to do a movie with no script, but how did that come to be?
Well, this insane writer, this was in the hippie days, and in L.A., all the hippies were on Sunset Boulevard. They were sleeping in doorways up in the hills and all that. So he calls me up from L.A., and he said, "Bill, jump on a plane, get out here. I want you to direct this movie." And I said, "Well, send me a screenplay." And he said, "I don't have no, he didn't tell me he didn't have one. He said, "Look, there's not time. We got to shoot this immediately. Get on the trend." And he tells me about a young priest that leads this church and travels with the long hair. So anyway, I said, I'd been around the block, and I said, "Well, look, send me X number of dollars and send me a round-trip ticket." So about a week later, the round-trip ticket comes in and half my salary. So I go out to L.A., and he meets me at the airport, and I said, "Give me the screenplay. I got to see what I'm going to do here." He says, "Bill, I'm in serious trouble." And I said, "What are you talking about?" "I don't have a screenplay." And I said, "You don't have what the hell do you bring me out here for?" So anyway, what he'd done, he'd raised $50,000 in trading stamps. Back then, there was a thing where they tried to beat the IRS by having these trading stamps. And like if you owned a garage and I owned a TV shop, if I needed my transmission fixed, I'd give you trading stamps, and then you could come in and trade me for a TV. So he'd raise these, and he discounted them to get my ticket, and he sold them. So we had to stay at the Ramada Inn on Sunset. And if you've ever eaten every damn meal at the Ramada Inn, forget about it. You know?
Right, yeah.
So after about 3 days, I said to him, I said, Terry, I said, I'm sick and tired of this food. Look, I'll take you across. The New World was a restaurant on the Sunset there, and I said, I'll pay. So we go to there, and there were these hippies in there, and there was this long gal with long dress, long hair. I said, now she looks like a typical hippie. Grefe, you're brilliant. Boom, he goes over. Now we got our lead actress, right?
Cast her from the restaurant.
And so she'd never acted before. And in the morning, this actor walks in. He has this big sort of briefcase or whatever. They carry their picture. And I said, now that guy looks like a young priest. Now I know why I hired you, Grefe. Boom. So now we got our priest. So we go out like the Topanga Canyon, which was a hippie stronghold. I said, well, what will we do today? Oh, there's a nice stream. Let's just go to the stream. And so we winged the whole damn movie. Winged it and never had a script or anything. And the damn thing is, on DVD today. It's so anyway.
Came out pretty good, huh?
Playable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on.
It's watchable. No, that's great.
I mean, but see, I got to be head of Ivan Tours then, and I didn't want to be associated with a hippie, drug-oriented film, so I took credit as cameraman, which I did everything. We only had 3 or 4 people in the crew, see, and so I did all the photography and directed the thing.
Did you put like a what's it called, a pseudonym? Was there an Alan Smithy as the director?
No, I just took credit as the cameraman. No. But anyway, on the internet, there's a really great article about how we made that. It's called The Psychedelic Priest, William Grefe.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out, actually. I was just looking at it. So, out of the films that you released, was there one in particular that's your favorite?
Well, I always used to say the next film's my favorite,
right.
But anyway, no, the one film I think was the best thing I ever did was The Devil Sisters, which was a true story about these 2 sisters in Mexico that kidnapped these girls and held them, enticed them that they were going to be maids and waitresses, and then they forced them into prostitution, and they literally killed dozens of girls and buried them on a ranch. And that's all the true story. We got the court records, and we wrote a screenplay about that. And that became a lost film, which I looked 20 years for it, and finally, through the miracle of the internet, I found a print in Germany that a collector had, and I bought it off him, and we just now released it on DVD, But I'm really proud of that film. It was a good film. And I shot it in 10 days.
Oh, that's amazing to me. I've been doing independent films for a while now, and I do pretty much exclusively low-budget features, and we do them from nine days to 14 days if I'm really lucky. And so when I hear these stories of, we did it in 7 days, or, we did it not,
But see, you're using digital cameras. You weren't using a 200-pound monster.
So it was even harder. Well, it was very much harder when you were doing it. That's why I can't even imagine when you said you're working in 35 millimeter,
right?
And you make a feature film in 7 days. Did you block everything and do longer takes and more movements, or?
No, I pretty well. What I did is to me, I used to try and block stuff where the actors moved or the camera moved. I mean, I hate a lot of stuff today where fast cuts. I mean, a bumbling idiot or a chimpanzee could direct those fast cuts. But let them try. Like, look at any of John Frankenheimer's stuff,
Yes.
and the way he moved the camera and blocked, and you have no concept of what it takes. I mean, like this movie they just recently made, Atonement, with there's a scene, the Battle of Dunkirk, 5-minute take where the camera and the actors constantly move. Well, that director, I mean, they had to rehearse that for a week, you know, and if one extra missed his mark, if one actor missed his mark, if the assistant cameraman missed the follow focus, they had to do it over again. Now that takes a real director to block something like that. But fast cuts. A chimpanzee can do that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Any advice for other film directors starting out that maybe had ups and downs?
Well, you know, the whole thing in a nutshell is you just got to believe in yourself and keep going, you know. And the key, though, that I teach film students in these film schools, they teach everything but the two most important things in filmmaking. They say, what is that? And I said, finance and distribution.
Absolutely.